Hi everyone. I guess I'm going to have 5 chairs to myself. How is everyone? Afternoon, Saturday, energy level okay? In the next 15 minutes, I'm going to talk about a new trust building primitive for DeFi. An oracle built for identities. And I'm going to explain why this new primitive is going to be needed. So it all starts with the following realization. So much of our traditional finance value comes from trusting the other party. So from trust in the counterparty. So if you open a bank account, you sign a contract, you get a credit line. All of it is built on top of the trust that the other party has in you as an individual. And the question is, do we have something similar in Web3? Like, do we have an on-chain mechanism to know who we are interacting with? Might sound a little bit anti-crypto native, like wasn't crypto built with the purpose of eliminating counterparty risk? But actually there's so much inefficiency and so much potential for fraud, for risk, if you don't have any mechanism of creating counterparty risk. So it starts with very simple things like anti-Sybil protection. So I think most of you have heard of Arbitrum's airdrop in the last couple of months. So what they did, they implemented a really, really extensive on-chain mechanism to check which wallets were actually real humans and which ones were bots. But even after all of this like very big campaign of doing on-chain data analysis, actually afterwards, after the airdrop was sent out, it was found that a quite high amount, like some people are saying over 26% of all tokens that were airdropped were actually airdropped to bot accounts, to Sybil accounts. So in this example, you have 2 individuals that hold over 100 wallets, and all of these 111 wallets were whitelisted for airdrop that was supposed to only go to real humans. But actually this is something that happens not only in these kind of airdrop things that are more like a 2C use cases, it happens in all of DeFi. So all of DeFi that has some certain level of, or that wants to leverage capital efficiency will have some form of counterparty risk, especially if the DeFi protocol relies on external data. So as soon as there is an external data, like an Oracle feed, a price feed, there's always a risk that a counterparty risk will occur, and that can actually cause a lot of financial damage. So the question is, what if we could generate a new data feed, a new way of creating trust in a trustless system? So a trust not in the data, like in the sense of in the price, but actually in the person that you're interacting with. And that's why we want to introduce the concept of a zero-knowledge identity oracle. So just like Chainlink is an oracle for price feed, a ZK identity is a data stream for the identity of the counterparty you're interacting with. And the interest is that you can prove something about yourself or about your counterparty without ever accessing any private data of the person you're interacting with. How does it work? So the way it works, it's the protocol is divided into 3 parts. So you have a part that takes part on the credential holder side, something that stands in between the on-chain part and the off-chain part. And you need to build some kind of trust between the holder and the verifier. So the holder, for example, wants to prove that they are creditworthy. They have a bank account, and on the bank account, it shows they have, I don't know, 5 billion won, and they want to show that to a decentralized DeFi protocol without going through an intermediary. So how do they do it? The credential holder generates a so-called zero-knowledge proof. So that's a mathematical way that a certain calculation was done correctly without disclosing the original intent. So, for example, they would prove that they have 5,001 in their bank account, generate a zero-knowledge proof. This zero-knowledge proof is sent to a decentralized identity oracle, like a MPC oracle, that comes to a consensus whether this data, like the zero-knowledge proof, can be trusted or not. If the zero-knowledge proof is trusted. It is minted back onto the credential holder wallet in form of a soulbound token. I know a lot of technical information, but what happens in this interaction is that you're bringing a data that is fully anonymous off-chain in a trusted but yet still anonymous way on-chain. And this makes it then very easy for the credential holder, just by showing this soulbound token to a decentralized application, that they fulfill a certain eligibility criteria. Easier said than done. Actually, there is 4 different key technologies that need to be implemented in order to make a zero-knowledge identity oracle work. One of them is the zero-knowledge proof itself, so the way to prove that input data is correct. You need fully homomorphic encryption, so the ability to make calculation on data that is private, that is only able through the use of fully homomorphic encryption. And then you need some way of bringing the data on-chain. That's where the multi-party computation comes in. And then you need some form of on-chain representation that cannot be sold, that cannot be transferred. That's where the non-transferable, non-fungible token comes in. So if you combine all of these things, you take data, you encrypt it. After encryption, you make it anonymous. You verify that it can be put on-chain, and then you have it on-chain. You have a fully trusted, but yet anonymous representation of a credential on-chain. ZKMe is actually the first to implement such an identity oracle. And let's have a quick look at the promotional video to see how the solution works. So if you could play the video. Thank you. Okay, there doesn't seem to be any sound, so I'm going to narrate it. Imagine you're on-chain, you're interacting with
identity travels with you. How can you make sure that your data is handled privately, securely, and efficiently? In the vastness of the web, you might think you are anonymous. But in reality, many of your favorite companies need to know who you are in order to provide you with the best service. A Web3 dApp, for example, might need to verify your identity, work experience, and social networks before granting you access to its services. With limited options, you reluctantly share your personal private information, even though it includes information not required. Sharing information online is dangerous. You give control of your identity to others. ZKMe is a decentralized, zero-knowledge proof-based identity oracle network that allows you to share data when, where, and as selectively as needed. How does it work? The first step is to create your globally unique digital identifier. One face, one DID. Next, you can add any number of credential claims to your DID, such as citizenship, social, or even gaming. The ZKMe app on your mobile phone will automatically verify any credential you provide to ensure its accuracy and validity. Then, all of your personal data is anonymized and encrypted before it is ever shared with anyone. ZKMe uses zero-knowledge technology to create a truly private, secure, and decentralized verification method for you. Zero-knowledge proofs ensure that your credentials can be verified effectively while keeping your private data private. Through the use of MPC threshold encryption, this private data is protected from ever being accessed by anyone unilaterally. The zero-knowledge proofs and MPC key are sent to your wallet in form of a soulbound token. With this token, you can prove who you are freely and securely. The service providers you interact with will only know that you meet their eligibility requirements without ever knowing who you really are. This is the charm of ZKMe. Even in a complex and unfamiliar digital world, you do not have to worry about any privacy nor security issue. Simple, right? ZKMe. You, privately verified.
Yeah, so that was the first introduction on our protocol. It's the promise of being able to verify who you are, or the other way around, as a service provider, a decentralized service provider, prove who your users are without ever accessing and disclosing any private information on either side. Maybe you can go to the next slide. I think Okay. 3 use cases are already live with ZKMe. So ZKMe is a project that was started in September of last year. We have been building over the last couple of months, half a year. We are live on 7 different chain ecosystems, including all of the chain ecosystems that are pitching tomorrow. So we have Polygon, we have Binance, we have Zeta Chain, we have Nia, Avalanche, and others. And we currently provide 3 different use cases. So we provide an ultimate anti-Sybil and anti-bot protection. So if you are a protocol and want to make sure that you're airdropping only to real users, you can actually use our fully homomorphic encrypted DID that makes sure that every single unique face in the world can only claim 1 airdrop. Then you have fully FATF compliant KYC solution. So for upcoming regulations, actually every crypto company needs to be able to KYC their user base, but without losing the ethos of privacy and decentralization, you can do a zero knowledge, completely anonymous KYC. And then the 3rd use case that we have live is a so-called web data attestation, where any protocol can make generic claims about themselves and disclose them to the user base. So for example, a university could plug into our solution and issue on-chain anonymous representations that someone passed their course grade, for example. Let's focus a little bit on the zero-knowledge KYC part. So why is zero-knowledge KYC even needed, or why is KYC even needed? I mean, besides the inefficiencies that I mentioned previously, of like the capital inefficiencies of having to always over-collateralize your DeFi protocol, there is actually also a risk and a compliance issue. So the risk issue, as I mentioned previously, there's the counterparty risk if you have DeFi protocols that depend on the counterparty in lending, for example, to be able to pay back the product. You can minimize the risk. But most importantly, actually, is that within the next couple of years, pretty much every regulator in the world is going to implement the FATF recommendations on crypto compliance. Most importantly, I think in the US and in Europe. So the US is currently already implementing a solution like stating every DeFi protocol that is not sufficiently decentralized. By sufficiently decentralized, they mean actually any form of centralization must KYC their user base. And Europe is even going a little bit further. So by the new TFR regulation, from the 1st of January 2025, every single crypto transaction for a for-profit crypto company must KYC their user base, no matter if they are DeFi protocol, GameFi protocol, NFT protocol, any protocol. And so what can a Web3 protocol do? Actually, there's only 4 different options. There's the option of going fully decentralized, like giving up all of the voting rights, not offering any front end, not having any employees, like everything is completely a DAO, and no one owns more than 8% of the voting rights of a DAO. It's quite a high thing to fulfill. You could go and shop for those jurisdictions that maybe are not as quick as the big ones to implement legislation. So you could go to Guam, for example, or you could go to Papua New Guinea and open shop there. Or you implement a KYC solution. So do you implement a centralized KYC solution, or do you open a decentralized KYC solution? My thesis is that DeFi does not work with centralized KYC solutions. It has been tried in the past. So I think most famously it was Aave who tried to implement a centralized KYC solution. And it had a lot of issues. So even at its highest point, because of the super high entry barriers in implementing a centralized whitelisting process, they had extremely fragmented liquidity. Because of the walled garden approach, like only allowing certain tokens to be to enter the liquidity pool and only certain wallets to enter, what Aave had to do is actually they had to wrap the tokens So creating new tokens, which in the end made it even more unattractive for companies to invest into this pool, and created an extremely unbalanced liquidity pool, where almost everything was held in stable coins and almost nothing in, in actual crypto tokens. And all of this also led to extremely low yields. So in the end, all of the benefits of a DeFi protocol were completely lost due to this centralized approach. That's why if, let's say, you're a DeFi protocol and you see that compliance is coming and you know that the SEC, you have a lot of US users, you want to go shopping for a ZK KYC solution. What should you be looking out for? And here's the handy guide. So there's 3 different things that you should be looking out for. First of all, you need to make sure that the provider that you're buying is actually really compliant, and it's not just indirectly compliant, but actually fulfills the FATF requirements. Since you're implementing a new entry barrier to your users, it's also really, really important that you make it as user-friendly as possible. If you are asking your users to visit like 10 different websites and ping pong between 10 different wallets, you might lose a lot of users on the way. And then, in my opinion, most important, is the solution really end-to-end zero knowledge? Or does it betray the ethos of Web3, meaning there is some form of centralized data holding or data federation? We, like ZKMe, is the only provider that is fulfilling all of these 3 requirements. So at no point will ZKMe ever have access to any private information of your user base. ZKMe does not share any data with anyone. And all of the credentials that are issued through the Oracle can be reused pretty much infinitely. And since we have a mobile-first solution that you can actually see on our website, the entry barrier for the user is really, really low. We are the only provider, like the only so-called DID KYC provider that actually has data recovery capabilities. So in case a user is proven to be guilty of some financial fraud and bad actor proceedings are initiated against the user, we have the capability of recovering the data. So in our solution, the user is actually anonymous until proven guilty. And we already fulfill the crypto travel rule requirements. So in case you are sending virtual assets from one decentralized application to another decentralized applications, in a couple of years you will have crypto travel rule, meaning the identity of the user must actually travel together with the transaction, and we already have a solution for that. And then just a couple of days ago, our solution was approved as a W3C standardized solution. So we already fulfill all of the web internet DID standards. We are chain agnostic. That makes it really, really easy for us to implement on any chain that you might deploy your protocol on. Yeah, that's the solution just in time. So if you're interested, especially want to learn more about the solution, feel free to say hi. I will be lingering around after this talk. Or just visit us on our website or Twitter account. And thank you very much.